That's me. So what I'm going to do here is this is a news and notes around the NFL type of thing. I'm planning on probably making this a podcast too. I just wanted to make it a live stream, so if somebody does want to hop on and hang out, talk about a specific team, specific subject, obviously, we'll see how it goes. I don't really have anything to. I don't know what to expect. I'm wondering if I might do this every week. I might decide to make this a thing. So if you're listening on the podcast, I really appreciate you. This is like a bonus podcast type of thing. If you are if you're doing, if you're watching this on YouTube or later or whatever, whatever it is, hope you enjoy. So we're going to go through all the news and notes. I'm going to touch on preseason week 1, the things that I looked at, things that I saw. I am a big note taker. I am a big researcher, and, I'm constantly just listening to, podcasts and reading articles and stuff. So some of the news and notes are coming from certain things. Some of them are coming from my personal opinion. It's kind of a little, combination of both a little bit. So, let's get started. Copper, go away. It's my cat, sorry. Copper, Jesus. All right. So I don't know really where I want to start here. We're just getting going. Don't really have anybody on the stream just yet. So I guess I'm going to start with just some news and notes. Actually, I'm going to start with the Vikings, because the Vikings are, I think, a really interesting situation here. Let me find my notes real quick. So Christian Darrisaw, he continues to struggle with muscle core injury. It was something that he got surgery for back in January, but he's seen multiple specialists. I think the last time I read the article, he was in Philadelphia seeing a super specialist. Jacob, you're in the comments already. What up, bro? Yeah, we're talking Vikes, bro. What do you think? So yeah, basically your first round pick, left tackle, doesn't look like he'll be starting week 1, and really there's just nothing. I would honestly think this is probably a redshirt year for him, because you're not starting week 1. How rusty you're going to be, you just never know, stuff like that. Timetable's unknown, so that's unfortunate. And then the other guy, Wyatt Davis, your third round pick out of Ohio State guard, he's playing with threes right now. He got blown off the line a handful of times in week 1 of the preseason. He's struggling. So right now, the offensive line is actually worse than it was last year. And I know, Jacob, I'm sorry, we talked about this personally, so you kind of know where I'm at with this. The other part is the cornerback situation. I look at the cornerback, and it's like, opposite of Patrick Peterson, we really don't know what's going to happen there. Rashad Breeland, all right, 6'17". Yeah, man, Ezra Cleveland needs to step up in a big way. I kind of agree. I'm in that 6 to 7 range too. Tomorrow we're doing, we're not doing the Vikings this week, but we're going to be doing the Vikings next week. And I was looking at my win total for them. I'm low on them. I really am. I love their skill positions. I really do. Top 2 wide receivers. I mean, you're in a conversation for top 10 duo, right? I think already, Jefferson is that good in my opinion. Your running back's awesome. I don't really have a problem with Kirk Cousins. He's a average quarterback in the NFL, but man, no offensive line. Gladney out. Yeah, exactly. Rashad Breeland is looking like the starter opposite of Patrick Peterson. Mackenzie Alexander, Cameron Dantzler, the a lot of guys that you got early and often in the draft, not really working out. It's crazy how the Vikings can draft so well at wide receiver, draft so well at running back, cannot hit on cornerback, and cannot hit on offensive line early. I'm worried about them. I am. I think, an offense is only as good as your offensive line and quarterback, in my opinion. And those are those are question marks. That's really the only way I can put it. That's like my first thing, is like just reading between the lines a little bit with Vikings camp and how it's going. I'm a little bit down on them right now. It's early. I'm not really taking into account the preseason game. They had 31 starters out, so it's like that they got blown out by the Broncos, but like who cares? So that really it doesn't impact this. Actually, this opinion came before I even watched the preseason game, so that's kind of where I'm at with them. But yeah, moving on, where I want to go, let's talk about some standouts. Let's go some good news, standouts, some late round picks on the defensive line. Joe Tryon for the Bucks getting awesome reviews. He's going to be a guy who's going to be in that rotation with JPP and all the other guys that those Bucks have. I mean, they did not need help on the defensive line, but man, did they add some depth. Joe Tryon apparently is killing it in camp right now. You have Jason Owe, Ravens pick, one pick earlier, 31st overall. We're talking about the 32nd, 31st pick, getting really rave reviews in camp as well. Plays a similar position, so it's a dude out of Penn State who I'm excited to see on the field, and I think he has a chance to take over, that Matthew Judon role. I'm not saying he's going to be that guy. I don't know exactly how they want to use him, but it would not surprise me a bit if that's how he's used. And apparently he's being used very well in camp, and he's doing well. So that's a little bit of good news. A couple of guys, the back end of the first round that are getting really, really good reviews. I'm just going through notes. All right, so that's kind of what this is. Obviously, if you have any thoughts, just let me know in the comments. But I'm gonna keep it rolling here. We're gonna go to the Chargers. We're going to the LA Chargers. The running back situation. So there's a couple things going on here with the Chargers. First of all, their head coach already came out and said that they are going to be doing a running back by committee. So fantasy-wise, it does look like Eckler might be taking, as far as a fantasy value, might be a slight step down. I would still, obviously, he is still the number one and all those things. He's still probably going to get the majority of the workload. But what I found really interesting, Larry Roundtree listed ahead of Joshua Kelly on the first depth chart. Now, Larry Roundtree, we're talking about third string and fourth string. I understand that. Larry Roundtree, this is me. This is just one of those things, like, if you've been listening to me for a while, I'm a big Larry Roundtree guy. I liked him coming out of college. Obviously, I liked him in that, 5th, 6th round, which is kind of where the Chargers got him. But I do think he's better than Joshua Kelly. I had him a higher grade coming out than Joshua Kelly. Joshua Kelly struggled a lot last year. I'm not going to lie. I feel like I hit that one on the head. Justin Jefferson, Josh Jackson, whatever their second running back is, who cares? He's the number 2. I can't talk today. I'm sorry, guys. My dog's barking. He's still the number 2, but Larry Roundtree doing well in camp. Just another one of these. There's a lot of late round running backs that I feel like are doing well, and he is one of them. So that's really, really cool. Deandre Swift has a groin injury, just kind of keeping it on the running back thing and fantasy value. Yeah, Deandre Swift having that groin injury, kind of scary, right? The guy who's expected to get a majority of the workload and, expected to kind of have a fantasy breakout. I know a lot of people are predicting that. Scares me a little bit because obviously the Lions are already a bad football team. You just don't really know what to expect. I don't think anybody's projecting them to get a ton of wins this year. Losing, arguably, I wouldn't say... Yeah, arguably one of your more explosive, talented players on offense. Certainly going to be a loss early on. Obviously, this is just a groin injury. I think he's back in practice at some point this week, or that's the expectation. And it might not be an issue, but I am big on watching hamstring and groin. Those are my two things, especially for these running back, wide receiver, cornerback. Those are the positions where I'm going to keep a really close eye as we get through this stream, this podcast, wherever you're listening to it. I'm going to be talking about the hamstring watch. I'm doing a hamstring watch every single week throughout the preseason, and honestly, I'm hoping to get help from anybody. I keep a pretty good eye on it, but we'll get to that. Don't worry about that. DeAndre Swift, that's just something to keep an eye on. I'm sure a lot of people knew about that. Getting back to offensive line, and I know I'm kind of going all over the NFL. It's kind of like my goal with this is I'm just going to try and hit as many teams as possible. Just bam, bam, bam. Panthers. Offensive line, left tackle. There's a huge hole here. Cam Irving out of practice nursing a shoulder injury. Dennis Daly excused for family matters. You got Moden, their guard, who's getting extensive work at that left side. They took a loss there with at the left tackle and really just did not address it the way they probably should have. You have questions there. I'm not sitting here saying their offensive line as a whole is going to be terrible, but at left tackle probably arguably arguably the most important position on that offensive line. There's certainly some questions for the Panthers there. Again, like, I'm big on looking at the offensive line. I read into that really, really carefully, because I do think those are the things that, like, don't get the national media, but do have a big impact on wins and losses and performance overall. I really believe that. Let's get into a couple more camp and newsy stuff, then we'll get into the first week preseason and talk about some news there. Will Fuller still not practicing for the Dolphins, injured his foot on the second day of practice. He's had some limited stuff here and there, but he is not full go yet. Will Fuller, a guy who's dealt with injuries his entire career, dealing with more now. That's certainly unfortunate. Get through here. Rashad Bateman, this is kind of a more popular one. I try to keep this specific thing. I want to talk more about the stuff that goes under the radar, because there's so much news coming out. It's hard to keep up with it all, and I try to do that and kind of consolidate as best I can here. But Rashad Bateman, quad injury. I think a lot of people knew about that. He needs surgery. Will be out until September. Man, the Ravens cannot catch a break with first-round wide receivers and injuries, right? So Rashad Bateman, listen, I'm not going to lie to you, not a guy I was like the highest on coming out of the draft. Didn't think he deserved to be a first-rounder. Thought he was more of a second-round type of guy, but very unfortunate. He looked like he had a really good opportunity with the Ravens, and you hope that he can get back on the field and get that chemistry with Lamar Jackson. They obviously need help at that wide receiver position, and just the passing game in general obviously needed a little bit of help last year. Let's move over to the same division, the Bengals. All right, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are both, according to some reports I read out of camp, struggling. Excuse me. Now there's obviously reports every day, and this time of year everything is kind of like glossed over and put with like the most hopeful spin on it, especially out of these these camp guys that are reporting a lot of this. They're fans too, so they're trying to put the best spin they can, but just there's been some stuff saying that they're struggling. Jamar Chase struggling, kind of a surprise, obviously, coming out with a very, very highly regarded guy by me and just about everybody else in the fantasy, or excuse me, in the draft community. And then Joe Burrow looks like he's still struggling with that knee, so I would expect a slow start from the Bengals this year. I really would. Now again, there's been other reports saying, oh, it looks better today and stuff like that, but to me, I mean, when there's smoke there's fire with things like this, and I'm seeing a lot of smoke with concerns about those two specifically in camp. So yeah, I'm out on the Bengals fantasy wise. I'll tell you that right now. Like I'm good. I'm just scared of that team altogether, and I really don't know what to expect from that duo, or just at least early on. Obviously, I do think as the season goes on, they'll figure it out. Joe Burrow is incredibly talented. Jamar Chase is incredibly talented. They'll figure it out. But early on, yeah, I certainly have concerns. I'm wondering if they'll be ready for week one the way the rest of the NFL hopefully will be. Back down, I went through that. Shout out real quick, Frank Reich, Chris Ballard getting that contract extension. Both, I think, absolutely deserve it. Frank Reich has handled the adversity so well. He's had a different quarterback every year, and he's just done so well with that. Like, I mean, there's still a really good football team, and it feels like they are one, I wouldn't even say great, just serviceable quarterback away from being very dangerous. I think, they were dangerous last year at times, and I think, man, I don't know. I'm very hopeful that they can figure it out, because I do think this duo, as far as management-wise and coaching-wise, they just kill it. Ballard kills it all the time in the middle rounds of the draft. Reich has just handled everything so well. So, yeah, just shout out to them for getting that contract extension. Obviously, that doesn't matter a whole lot, but I think it's interesting. More administrative news, a little bit more administrative news before we get into really preseason talk. Not sure how long I'm going to go with this. If you have any questions or thoughts or want to talk about a specific team in the comments, let me know. That doesn't look like, I think I have maybe one viewer. I'm not sure. But that's okay. I'm going to put this as a podcast, and I wasn't really sure what to expect with this first stream here. But yeah, more administrative news. There's an investigation started by the Raiders, internal investigation regarding 4 executives that resigned very, very close together all this offseason. I apologize. I'm not going to read off all their names, but it's certainly an interesting story, something that, I don't have a lot of information in. I'll be honest, I didn't like overly research this, but it did catch my eye. I did read the article, and it just, there's some odd things going on there. The CFO retires, the vice president of strategy and business development, leaves, and it's like, man, some of these guys have been there for 30 years and they're quitting this job. Makes me think something happened, whether that'll ever come out or whether anything happens with this, I don't know, but I thought it was interesting. Very curious as to what all that's about. One last thing, we'll get to the preseason stuff. Jags traded Joe Schobert to the Steelers. This is a guy, linebacker. I mean, if you watch Jags games, which hopefully you didn't last year, it wasn't a lot of fun. But if you did watch Jags games, you would have seen Joe Schobert all over the field, making tackles everywhere, put up 141 tackles, 3 interceptions, 2.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles last year. So, I mean, he did very, very well. Traded to the Steelers that, definitely need help at that linebacker position. Obviously, they believe they do. They go out and get Joe Schobert. 6th-round pick. Very surprised by that. Very surprised. Now, obviously, there's contract things, and I don't know all the details of how that contract worked out. I mean, maybe the Steelers just took all $5 million or whatever his contract is, and the Jags felt like they need to offload that. To me, this feels like more of a, this feels like a coach trying to get his guys in kind of thing. And I'm not going to sit here and point fingers by any means. I think it's way too early to start doing that. But I am questioning. Throat's getting dry. Let me drink a little bit. That'll help, right? An energy drink. So yeah, I do. I wonder if Urban Meyer is pushing some of these guys out. I don't know. You have the rumors that they're trying to trade the cornerback they drafted in the 1st round last year, who didn't do great, but by rookie cornerback standards, did okay, I feel like, and certainly has a lot of upside moving forward. And then now Joe Schobert goes for a 6th. Yeah, strange. Certainly very strange. Let's move on, and I'm going to put up this graphic. I got a nice little graphic for you guys. Let's see if that worked. Hopefully you can see this on the screen. Hamstring watch. All right, that's what maybe. I don't know if you can see it or not. I'll be honest with you. Either way, I have a nice little graphic that reads off all the names. I'm doing hamstring watch. All right. Every single week, I'm going to try and do this live stream, and I'm going to try and talk about the guys that have hamstring injuries. Because if you have followed the NFL for a long time, you know that they come back all year. Hamstrings, to me, are the scariest thing. So reading off just a couple guys that I saw that are having hamstring injuries to certain degrees, and you never know what that degree is. But Zach Moss, running back for the Buffalo Bills, drafted last year. He was a rookie and was very close to, I think it was just like 25 carries away from outpacing Singletary, who was there when he was on the field. So that's certainly interesting. A guy who had a good chance of maybe taking over that starting job, possibly. You never know. Kenny Gallaudet, wide receiver for the Giants, was out with a hamstring. Apparently he's getting back on the field, but still something to watch out for. Aaron Jones, running back for the Packers, hamstring injury. Allen Robinson, C.J. Godwin, Tony Jefferson, Grant Delpit, Kevin King. Those are a couple safeties and cornerbacks for various teams that are having some hamstring injuries as well. Frank Clark, which is not a position that you usually see with this kind of stuff, but he has a hamstring injury that I saw. And last one was Marquis Brown. I think that one is the one that probably scares me the most out of any of them. Marquis Brown is a guy who, he's a speed guy, right? And he's dealt with injuries. His entire career. So that's certainly been an issue. So I'm certainly questioning that. I certainly, I don't know. That one scares me a whole lot. And it's like, man, that's going to kick me out of watching, of drafting a Marquis Brown in fantasy draft and stuff like that. that's what scares me. And I got it back on the screen there, so you can kind of see the list there. Don't know if that keeps anybody interested, but that's something that I watch. That's something that's very, very interesting to me. So yeah, I'm putting that up there. I'm going to leave that on the screen just for a second. If anybody wants to add to it in comments, or if you're watching this later or listening to it later, man, message me on Twitter. I get those notifications. You can comment on there too, and I'll see it eventually, but I don't get the notifications on YouTube. I get those notifications on Twitter, at Between Pylons, just Between Pylons. Hit me up, and if you have anybody else that has hamstring injuries, or your favorite team, about a couple guys, or hey, if you just have a news story that you want to send me that you think's interesting, think I should talk about, send that my way. I think that'd be pretty cool if we could get into that. So I want to talk about hold-ins at the end of the broadcast, but let's get into the first round of or the first week of preseason. Obviously, you had the Hall of Fame game last week, but I really don't count that. That to me is week 0, and this is week 1. So that's how I kind of look at it. Obviously, got to talk quarterbacks, right? Like, got to talk quarterbacks. First week preseason. First of all, I almost put their stats. I almost went in and was gonna have a whole graphic for the stats. I'm not doing that. I decided to axe the graphic altogether and just I want to talk about the player. I want to talk about my reactions. I don't care about the plays. I don't care about the stats at the end of the day, because it's preseason. You don't know. It doesn't really matter, and really everything I'm about to say doesn't really matter. But my first impressions, Zach Wilson. Yeah, I mean, Jesus, his fastball is ridiculous. I think he had the most talented arm coming out of the class. I always said, even more than Trevor Lawrence, I thought he, I believed that coming out, and I think it was confirmed today. Just watching, go on YouTube and just watch the 2-minute video. I'm sure however long it ends up being, of just him throwing every pass. And I think the first or second pass, just an absolute piss missile, and he does it every single play. It seems like he has a good variety of throws, but his fastball is just ridiculous. So that was my first reaction, and I'm a Dolphins fan, so I just absolutely hate the fact that I gotta play Zach Wilson every single day for the rest of our life. That bugs the crap out of me. I don't like it. That makes me upset. And there, I'm back now. Yeah, so moving on from Zach Wilson, we'll talk about Trey Lance. Obviously, he had that 80-yard touchdown, which was awesome. Listen. Let's unpack this for a second, because I don't. Maybe at some point I'll have it set up to where we can actually go through the play and stuff. I don't have that set up at the moment, but you look at the play, and that's a game plan play. All right, that's like a little tricky play that you never see in preseason, right? Well, you do. You only see it with your rookie quarterbacks that you want to get a little bit of love for. And listen, I'm not taking anything away. It was a really, really great game design type of play, and it was a really, really great throw. It was a beautiful throw. Jimmy Garoppolo can't make that throw. I don't think. Maybe he can, but I'll go so far as to say 15, 20 NFL starting quarterbacks probably don't make that throw. And we can argue semantics all day, but at the end of the day, that was what I would guess. He made an awesome throw. He has a ton of arm talent, no doubt about it. But other than that play, and other than really that drive where I felt like there was a lot of game plan stuff that kind of got the ball out of his hands, made everything look really easy for him, and just said, okay, we're going to get you in rhythm. After that, took 4 sacks, made 5 completions. I wasn't really all that impressed overall with Trey Lance. I like Trey Lance. I think I'm a proponent of him starting at this point, just because, listen, I don't know. It's tough because the 49ers are in a situation where they could win a lot of games with Garoppolo, but I would love to see Trey Lance really get the opportunity to just develop and grow while playing the game. I don't know. I don't know if he's the type of guy you need to sit for a year, because I do think he might just need the reps and need, he played at Indy. We know the story, right? Played at a super small school, never really played the competition he's going to be playing in the NFL. How much does practice really help when you're playing the twos? I don't know. That's something that I guess that's something that everyone can argue, and I go back and forth with it, but I think I think I want to see him start. Like, I think at some point, like at the end of the day, I think we all know Garoppolo is going to fuck up one game, and everybody's going to be calling for his name, and then that's just going to compound, and then he'll be in by week 7, week 8, right? Like that's kind of my expectation. Justin Fields played against my Dolphins. Again, looked really good. I really liked him. Had again some game planning stuff that I felt like Nagy was like, okay, we're going to put this in, and we're going to make it look good, and the Dolphins aren't going to be ready. He was playing the 2s and 3s. Dolphins did not start a lot of guys, but played awesome, played well. I'm excited to see him play some starters. Like I think first drive was very clearly scripted, and I think you can kind of tell when that ends up being the case. But that's okay. I don't care. Like Justin Fields looked great, looked better than I really even expected. To be totally honest, I wasn't super high on him. I liked him, but I was not as high as I feel like the rest of the community was on Justin Fields. And yeah, I'm excited. He had great poise, big guy, physical. Who I think his running is going to be a big part of the game and of this offense, and I can only imagine that that's going to grow in the regular season, especially. We'll see a ton of that. I'm excited. I really am excited for Justin Fields. I thought he looked good. It was a good start. Again, I'm not sitting here, I'm not amazed. Like I wasn't amazed like I was with Wilson and some of his throws, but that's okay too. Like he still played really, really well. Trevor Lawrence was good. Again, like that's the one where it's like it was a letdown because he's Trevor Lawrence and he took a sack on the first play and he just looked okay. He didn't look like, but honestly, if he went out there and, I don't know. It's hard because I just have such high expectations for him, and same way I feel about Wilson a little bit. Like I think I expect a little bit more, and there just wasn't that like wow play that got me excited. But like, he's going to be a starter. He's going to be great. He's Trevor Lawrence. He's the golden child. Like all those things. I didn't come away with a big thought on him. Mac Jones again played a lot of the second and third quarter. I watched pretty much every snap of that, and he just looked so poised. He looked like the moment was not too big. These are not my words. I don't know where I was listening to some podcast and somebody said this. I'm sorry, I can't give credit because I don't remember. But they said he looked like he looked like Jimmy Garoppolo. And I could not agree more with that sentiment. He really did. He looked like Jimmy Garoppolo did in the preseason. Remember how excited we were for Jimmy Garoppolo all those years? And I know, like, maybe that sounds bad now because we've seen Jimmy Garoppolo for a couple of years and it hasn't been awe-inspiring. But, like, there was a time when everyone really, really wanted him to be the heir apparent. Everyone was really, really upset when they traded him for a second-round pick. So, I'm excited for Mac Jones. I am. I think he went to the right spot. Obviously, we know the comparisons that I'm not going to make. But we know those are out there, and obviously he fits that scheme very well for what they truly want to do, or at least what they've done for the past 20 years, maybe not excluding last year a little bit. But yeah, looked good. I had no issue with it. He's not going to light the world on fire from his arm. Like, I just never impressed with his throws, but his whole thing coming out of college was he was a quick processor and a good, accurate thrower of the football, and he showed both of those things, I felt like, in his first preseason game. Last quarterback I want to talk about, actually two. One that I have notes on, and then I'll mention one other one that I think is worth mentioning just really, really fast. Jordan Love for the Packers. Yeah, the guy that everybody's been shitting on for damn near 2 years now. All of the drama, I don't need to go into it. Looked good. He has so much talent. He has so much arm talent. I'm not saying for a second that he is anywhere close to what Aaron Rodgers is. If you know me, you know I am like Aaron Rodgers is my dude. I think he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I think he is, outside of Mahomes now, he's the most talented quarterback I had ever seen for years. Like, I've always said that. Love Rodgers, not taking anything away from him, obviously. But Jordan Love, I thought, looked good. I thought he made a lot of good throws. Were there moments I would have liked him to get off? Mac Jones ceiling, top 15 or top 20? I'd say top 15. I think Garoppolo's ceiling is top 15, right? Like, I think Kirk Cousins' ceiling, top 15. You're going to be in the bottom of that. But, like, those are the type of guys that I see him being, right? Like, I don't see him, I'll never say, I think top 15 is fair. Top 20, I think, is, it's okay. I wouldn't argue with you if you said, no, top 20 only. But, I certainly think he has a high ceiling. And, obviously, I think Bill Belichick can make you look even better than maybe you are sometimes, just with his scheming and stuff. He does a really good job of that. But that's a good question. I would say top 15 though. But going back to Jordan Love there, was really upset that he got hurt. Has a little bit of a shoulder injury, might not be playing the rest of the year. But just the first time we really got to see him, that's kind of why I put him in this like rookie quarterback conversation, because I know he's not a rookie, but it's the first time I've seen him play in the Packers uniform, so it was worth mentioning. I saw a lot of good things out of him. Last thing, Eason played really well in his preseason game. I'm not gonna say I didn't do a deep dive on him. I just kind of quickly watched it really quick. Like I watched like the 2-minute clip on YouTube. I didn't really even watch the game, to be totally honest. But just to take a look at how he's throwing the ball. Jacob Eason for the Colts. Obviously, you have Wentz down. You don't know what to expect with that. Looked good. I don't know. I think if you're a Colts fan, it gives you a little bit of like hype, right? Like you just like, okay, cool. There might be something here. You might be excited. Moving on, I want to talk. I was gonna do a rookie running back thing. Does anybody want to talk about the rookie running backs? Like there wasn't really. I don't really have a lot of hot takes here. Like Najee's looked good. He's exactly what I expect him to be so far. He's going to be doing those 7 to 10 yards a clip type of thing. Steelers football. He really didn't hit a bunch of deep, 20. His plus 20-yard runs are kind of minimal in college. I would expect that to be the same in the NFL. But I mean, he's just going to be so good between the tackles and so good in that, first 5. He's going to be getting 5 yards a clip. I mean, I think he's going to be awesome from that perspective. Etienne, I didn't really get a good look at him, to be honest. I don't even know if he played. Like, I don't have any notes on him at all. Only, rookie wide receiver that really, like the biggest one that really stood out to me, Rondale Moore. Looked really explosive. We know how explosive he is, but the injuries is why he fell into that second round range. Actually, I had 2. Rondale Moore is the first one that I was like, man, so explosive. And then Terrace Marshall. I've done a video on him. I'm a big fan of Terrace Marshall, and he balled out a little bit for the Panthers. Got a lot of playing time, but I feel like you can tell he is above David Moore on that pecking list, and I'm really, really excited for him. Did want to mention Jalen Hurts working on playing into the pocket in the preseason. You could tell like there were multiple times where he could have run out of the pocket, and Jalen Hurts is the guy that I'm watching really close because I am interested to see what happens with him. He looks really good between the hash marks. I still have a lot of questions about his accuracy as a whole. He's not a quarterback that's really ever impressed me. I didn't think I honestly, before the draft, in that 2020 draft, I was arguing that he wasn't ever going to be a starting quarterback, and then I got wrong really, really fast, which is funny. But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with him. Obviously, we know the running ability. He is a good runner, and it was good to see in preseason that he was working on staying in the pocket. He had one run when the play totally broke down on 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 7. But other than that, really trying to put it all together. I still obviously have questions. It wasn't a perfect game, but yeah, looks really good. Also, in that same game, Anthony McFarland looked really, really good as well. But all right, that's the big takeaways that I have from preseason week 1. I don't know what to expect for this preseason. Like, there's certain teams that just weren't playing anybody, so I didn't put a lot of stock into it. And it kind of sucks because it's like if one team doesn't play anybody, then I really can't put stock into either of the teams because I don't, you just never know. So it takes away the value a lot of times for me. But overall, those were my big takeaways. I'm sure I have a couple other ones that I'll come up with or I'll talk about as we get through this. But last thing that I really wanted to talk about was the hold-ins. All right. And there's, I think this is a new thing that's going to be going on in the NFL, and that is holding out but going to practice and going to the team, because with the new CBA, they changed the rules for holding out and made it much worse thing to do, made it a very difficult thing to get around, I guess. But you see these guys, TJ Watt, Jamal Adams, Dwayne Brown, the left tackle for the for the Seahawks, all holding in, right? There's a couple other names too, Jones for the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals, there's been some rumors there that he's not doing everything, but I don't think he's a true hold-in the way these guys are. TJ Watt not participating in contact / competitive drills. He's currently negotiating a contract. I don't know. Is he a guy that would hold out into the regular season? The Steelers have proven over 30 years, however long it's been, that they don't negotiate into the regular season. So if you don't have a contract once week 1 starts, you're not getting one until the end of the year. TJ Watt absolutely deserves a contract, and you hope they can get that going. But yeah, he that's something to watch. And the reason I want to talk about this and bring attention to it is because when they hold out and they're not there, I feel like it gets so much more press, and everyone like recognizes, oh, this big name player is not at camp. Let's talk about this. Let's put this on ESPN. When they're at camp. When they're at camp, but it's just local reporters saying, oh, hey, he's not practicing, he's not doing anything. That to me is a hold in. It's getting a lot less press, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it. Jamal Adams, another one, obviously fairly well known contract dispute. I think he holds all the cards. Obviously, they made the big trade for him. They're not gonna not sign him, but it is a question of he is not playing. Would he not play into the regular season? I don't know. Has had one season with the Seahawks, and it looked good when he was on the field at most of the time. Seems like teams are no longer overlooking smaller offensive weapons. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's the Tyreek Hill effect more than anything, right? Every single team is looking for that guy a little bit. I think you don't have to go any farther than Jalen Waddle getting drafted 6th overall. I mean, that's a great slot receiver in college, and I think will be a really good player. But that type of player has never gone top 10. You just can't find that anywhere. Dolphins do it. Obviously, there was a need there for that type of player, but I totally agree. Every single team's looking for him. All you have to do is be fast, it seems like, as a wide receiver, and you're going to at least get a couple years of a chance to improve. I couldn't agree more with that. We didn't. But yeah, could not agree more there. Moving back to the hold-ins, just so I can finish this up a little bit. Adams is out, and then Brown, last guy that I'm going to really dive into. This is a dude who's left tackle. Russell Wilson, I think, made it even more difficult for the Seahawks by him commenting, saying, oh, we need him back. And I really don't love when players do that. Let everybody's contract be their own thing. But it is what it is. 35 years old. He's the 16th highest paid offensive lineman, but he is still ranked in the top 5 of most major O-line metrics according to PFF. So the assumption is, Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. We didn't, Rondale Moore especially. Amari Rodgers, I don't know if Amari Rodgers was a tough eval for me. I was just never sure. Is he? He was a great slot receiver, but I felt like he just never saw a lot of man-to-man coverage. So I really never got to see his. I don't know. He was a tough eval for me. I've talked about that a lot on my channel, so I won't dive back into that. But yeah, Rondale Moore, great player who everybody's looking for that type of guy, and you just look at Tyreek Hill. It's so hard to stop him, and it's not just his speed; it's everything. He's a really good all-around wide receiver. It's just that element of his speed makes him. I would argue a top 5 wide receiver in the game. I just don't think there's any other way to say that. And if you can get one of those guys, it opens everything up, I feel like. But yeah, last thing I'll say with Brown before I finish up with the hold-ins, knee injury issues, workload management issues in practice. I think those are reasons why the Seahawks maybe don't want to sign him to a long-term deal. And I don't blame him. 35 years old, but also Andrew Whitworth for the Rams. He's 39, I think. So there's certainly precedent for paying a very, very old left tackle. So I don't know. All right. That is everything I had on my rundown for this. Whedon, you're on here. Leave a comment. Do you want to talk about anything else? Throw around some teams. I pretty much have a take on every team or anything you talk about. So I'll stay on for a minute. See if you want to comment anything else. If not, I'll probably hop off here. right. By the way, I'll throw out a couple other things. Hunter Henry injury, questionable for the start of the season. Also, Jonnu Smith is hurt. These are like lesser things that I have in my notes, but I didn't want to talk about at the top of the show. Actually, I'll go here while I'm waiting just a minute here for Weeden, see if he says anything else. There are really only two real quarterback competitions for me. You appreciate the Seahawks talk for sure. Well, let's. I don't really have much else for the Seahawks. I'll be honest with you. I wish I had a good take for you. I have like half of the NFL. I have like a really I feel like divisive takes, and I don't really have anything for the Seahawks. I'm interested to see Chris Carson. Like, what's that running back room going to see? I feel like I've heard a lot of good things out of Penny, your first round pick from forever ago, who obviously been injured a lot. What's that running back situation going to look like? I feel like and also just what is that? I don't know. I have a lot of questions more than answers or at all for the Seahawks. Like, are we going to see a Seahawks team that really does try and air it out? Like, did Russell Wilson win that argument with the coach in the offseason? Because it seems like everything's good now. Obviously, there was a lot of issues there for your Dino pick. Yeah, I'm going Lance, and I think I did have him higher, but those two were like right next to me for projection. But really, Lance for the team. 49ers, I just think are the better scheme. Kyle Shanahan is just one of the greatest schemers to me, and like one of the better offensive coordinators, offensive minds in the game. And then Fields is on I don't really expect Nagy to be back next year. Like I thought he should have been out this year, to be honest, but I think it was just a weird year where he got to stay. So yeah, I would take Lance because I feel like there's stability for the 49ers and their ceiling is a little bit higher. And Fields, I mean, honestly, like I like Fields. I think he has maybe if you gave me 1 year, I'd probably take Fields right now over Lance, just because like I think Fields should start week 1. I think he probably will end up winning the job altogether because there's just so much more you can do, and he has that running element. Like Fields is faster than Josh Allen, and Josh Allen put up 600 yards. Like Fields should. I don't know if he will, but I mean he should have like 700-800 rushing yards. Like that doesn't, if he plays a full season, that doesn't feel unheard of for me. So like for fantasy, I feel like this year especially he's going to be really, really dangerous. So 1 year redraft, I take Fields. You said Dino though, so I'm taking Lance with just the long term thing, and then obviously you take into the fact Garoppolo. I still believe Garoppolo is going to get traded by the end of preseason. Like I feel like, if there's an injury coming, or if there's a team like, I don't know, the Colts feel like there's something going on with Carson Wentz, and they're like, man, we have a great team. Let's get Garoppolo in here. Let's put Eason in for a couple weeks, and the Colts actually have a really easy start of the schedule anyway, so maybe they can get away with that for a couple weeks. Get Garoppolo, up to speed, and then put him in. That's if Carson Wentz was out for a long time. So like I still see Garoppolo getting traded, to be honest. So I'll take Lance there. Anywhere else you want to go? By the way, with just the Seahawks, like, who is it going to be? Run first? Is it going to be pass first? I hope it's pass first, because I'm targeting Metcalf in a lot of fantasy drafts. So I'm hoping that's how it goes, man. But I don't know. I don't know what to expect there. I'm really loving this format. I probably am going to do this every week, even though I think this is a fun way to talk football, and I just get to talk for 45 minutes. When I have the podcast, I have to let Jacob talk half the time, so that sucks. Saints could use a quarterback trade cap-wise. Could probably have to be mentioned. Yeah, Minshew, I could see. I saw that today. I don't remember who I was listening to said the possibility that the only reason the Jags are like trying to act like this is a quarterback battle, which stupidest thing in the world to me. That's not a quarterback battle at all. But like just to up the value of a Minshew trade. But I don't know. Neither of the quarterbacks performed well in their first preseason game. I was kind of disappointed with that. But I do think it's like, the Saints went 8-1 without Breeze over the past 2 years. And they did that really with obviously the Taysom obviously on the roster, and then James Winston last year came in, won a game for him when Breeze went down. So I feel like McVay or Sean Payton's just going to figure it out with the Saints. But yeah, I agree. I think Minshew just in general could be on the move. Like even if it's a team that just wants a good backup. Like I'm trying to think. Man, yeah, I completely agree, because it's like, man, that defensive line I'm worried about. I'm worried about your cornerback too. Yeah, I agree. It could be air out mode for the Seahawks. That's a really good point there. I feel like y'all have good depth. I feel like for your defensive line, but just like there's no like blue chip guys that like excite you. I don't know. That's kind of where I look at for that. But you know, Minshew, just that trade with Minshew, I could see it just be a team that like has a really good team, feels like they have a chance to go really far, and just is worried about their backup quarterback situation. And like I feel like that happens I feel like there's a team out there that every year you talk about like, oh shit, this team is screwed if their quarterback goes down. And I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head that would like fit that description, and I really can't off the top of my head. I don't, but I feel like there's certainly one there that I could think of. Let me look back here. Look at some teams. I don't know. Who's the Chargers backup? I don't even know the answer to that. Like, maybe the Chargers feel that way. I don't know. All right, man. I'm going to call it here, man. I appreciate you hopping on, Whedon. If you're not subscribed, I assume you're probably subscribed, so I appreciate your support. I appreciate you talking to me in the comments very, very much. I am going to end it right there. Thank you so much. If you're watching this recorded later, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Peace out.